All right, welcome to the March Recreation Commission meeting. It's a pleasure to have you. This meeting will be replayed via Infinity Channel 8 on high definition channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live video on demand archive in our town of Barnstable, our website. I will start off with our call. Just so to help Sandra, if you can say your first name and yes, as I call the commissioners. Sharon,
Yes, Sharon Brown.
Tim,
Tim Luce, yes.
Tom, Tony, sorry, Tony.
Okay. Yes, Tony.
um, Jim,
Jim, present.
Alyssa,
Alyssa, present.
and did I get all of the commissioners that are present? Renee, present. All righty, thank you, everyone. So without any delay, it is my pleasure to welcome a new organization that I met through a really good friend of mine by the name of Paul. When I shared a little bit about what the Youth Athletic Foundation group does, John Gleason was interested and had not heard about you. So it is my pleasure to introduce Anne, Patrick, and Paul to share with us what the great things that the Youth Foundation is doing and how we may team together with the Recreation Commission.
Thank you for having us. If it's all right with you, Paul and Pat, should I start?
Go.
Okay, so as you know, my name is Ann Burse. I am the current executive director to the Youth Athletic Foundation. And the Youth Athletic Foundation, our mission is to provide funding for athletic equipment and participation fees to students in need on the Cape and Islands, ages 4 to 18. They are identified by a social service agent who would be anybody in a school, the athletic departments, especially, maybe town community sports. And what they do is just assess the need that the child needs some equipment or the family needs some help paying for whatever the sport is that the child is taking. They would reach out to us via email, and there's a form to fill out online. And then I will look it over, and we partner with Butler's Sporting Goods and Hanlon Shoes right now. I think that's going to expand as we grow bigger. And we order the equipment directly from them for the child. And then if they need money for the sport itself, then we would deal directly with whoever was in charge of that sport. So no money goes to the family. It would go directly from us to whomever is doing that part. You know, I think every time I talk about Youth Athletic Foundation, people are funny because they're like, oh, I have tons of used equipment and, you know, can I bring it by your house? And, you know, for right now, that's not what we're doing. We really want to empower these kids and really make them feel good about themselves. And we want them to have what the other kids have, which is the new equipment for right now. And that's not to say that we can't figure this out eventually down the line to have some type of some used equipment. But for right now, you know, we partner with Hanlon's and Butler's, and they can find us whatever it is that we need. So that's kind of where we are at right now. We're looking to get the word out about our organization, because I think the hard part is getting people to know who we are and that it's not too good to be true. I'm also one of the founders of Caitlin's Closet, and I know that when we had started that, people were like, okay, well, that's too good to be true. What's the catch? Well, there isn't. And it took us about 2 years to really get word out, get a reputation, get people to trust us. But especially nowadays, these kids need to get out. They need to be doing physical activity. They need to be having the socialization. They need to learn how to work as a part of a team. And I feel like it's more important than ever. And we've been doing fundraising and we're chewing at the bit, and we want to start really servicing these kids. And that's why we're here speaking to you guys, is it's really word of mouth. We're hoping that you guys can talk about us, and now that we've educated you a little bit about us, and we can start getting orders and start helping these kids out. Now, does anybody have any questions?
I
Yeah.
do. How you doing? Yeah. So this is right up my alley because I actually run a youth sports company, if you will. We offer a couple of different sports, one being flag football, which is very, very big these days. The growth globally has been tremendous, and an AAU basketball program as well. We have worked in the past. I mean, I don't know if we work with, but we've had a company called Comfort Kids. Are you familiar with them? It's called Comfort Kids. It sounds like it's similar. I don't think they deal with it as much as just helping kids pay for programs. If they come from less than substantial financial backgrounds, they do have a requirement. Do you guys have any requirements? Like, I think any kid who receives assistance from them has to be like on free lunch at school. So I was just curious if you guys have any kind of requirements like that.
I think, we don't as of right now. I think we look at educating our social service agents, which would be, for instance, you, that, I think it's hard because I think a lot of kids fall through the cracks when you do something like that. And I think there are families that are in need that maybe don't qualify for other things, but it's obvious that they need help, and sports maybe can't be on the forefront for those kids. So we really leave it to the discretion. We may have questions that arise that I would call you and ask you directly. But we don't have right now very concrete, you have to be free lunch, you have to be this.
Good to know. I mean, we've got,
Thank you.
well, let's definitely, after this meeting, let's definitely connect, because I certainly have some kids. We never turn a kid away if they can't afford to pay, but as you know, expenses are increasingly rising for us and for everybody. So it helps us as well if we can get a kid in and somebody is willing to help them out with the
Yeah,
fee.
and I think that's the other piece. It's like beneficial on both ends. Not only is it beneficial for the student, but it's beneficial for you guys. And then there's other things that you can be doing. You can get a new net because maybe Youth Athletic Foundation has been able to help with specific equipment for the kids. So yeah.
Okay, I'll shoot you my contact info. We can talk later, tomorrow or
Great.
something.
That sounds wonderful.
All right.
And Timmy, why don't you just go ahead and put your information in chat? Let's not even delay 1 second
Yeah,
of
that's what I'm looking
getting this
trying to find
information
it right
in. And Alyssa, you had your hand up.
Yes, I do. Hi, Anne. I'm on
Hi.
your website. It looks awesome. And I see how easy it is to fill out the application information. My question, so where it says partner info, is that where you're talking about like schools? That's where they would fill out their information?
Yep. And that way I would have a contact person.
Yep.
Because before the order gets filled, and we want things to be as specific as possible.
Mhm.
So we're looking for color, size, things like that. We can't always fill it exactly, but we will find something that is as close to it as possible. And then if I have questions, I can get a hold of whoever the contact person is.
Okay. And have you reached out to local schools?
So we've reached out to a couple of local schools. It's that funny thing where you first start and you're not really sure if it's going to take off. and be crazy and we're going to be overwhelmed, or if it's going to go super slow. And so we've done a couple orders. I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't gotten more orders, but I think we're in between sports right now. So I think this was like good timing for spring sports.
Awesome.
And can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is Pat Lentell. I was one of the originators of Youth Athletic Foundation, and we've reached out to Barnstable Intermediate School. I have a friend there that's the coach there, Michelle Anglin Cole, and Jim Butler, who's on our board of directors, has been contacting some of the local schools. And I think most of you know Jim. He runs Butler Sporting Goods. And we've had orders from Nauset. We've had some orders from had an order from Capabilities. And we also got an order from the Keith Putnam program, where he gives away bikes every Christmas. So we've had some orders that we've filled, and we paid the part of the registration fee for a young lady that went to the Triathlon Nationals from Barnstable High School. So we have been reaching out, and we are starting to get some traction. If that helps at all.
That is really, really
That's
good.
great.
Yeah.
Renee,
Any other
Yeah.
questions?
Renee, I think, Pat, if you wouldn't mind, I think you should share some of the fundraising efforts that have gone on and are planned.
I'd be happy to. There's a road race put on by the Rotary every year called Miles for Smiles, and ourselves and Caitlin's Closet and the Good Works Fund of the Rotary shared in that last year. We also were involved in a tennis tournament at King's Grant Tennis Club in Katuitt. We also took place in an event that didn't take place, but was scheduled to, and that's called Second Summer Cycle, which is a new cycling event that was started a year plus ago on the Cape and was supposed to take place September 17th, but was canceled because of Hurricane Lee, and it's scheduled again this coming year. And we also took part in the Spectacle of Trees at the Geyer Barn, and Anne set that up for us from her contacts from when she was with Caitlin's Closet. We raised close to $25,000 last year, and we expect to raise $40,000 to $45,000 this year, with the majority of it being used for grants for kids. And we are also in the finals for a Willow Bend Foundation grant at this point in time. And we're actively out there pursuing fundraising so that we can have funds to buy equipment and or pay fees for kids to take part in sports.
Thank you, Pat. That's really great. Any other questions? Because there's a connection to that fundraising piece that I want to share with the commissioners. Any other questions, Tony?
No, I'm good.
So the other reason that we kind of collided is the Recreation Commissioners in the past have discussed doing a fundraiser, but one that doesn't have a lot of of heavy time commitments because of our busyness. And so we have talked about, and John and I and a few of the commissioners running a pickleball kind of a fundraiser, because that's one of our greatest successes. And that is, Paul came into one of our early meetings and said this thing called pickleball is going to take off and we need pickleball courts. And the rest is history when you look at the fine pickleball courts that we have in Marston's Mills and the amount of usage that they're receiving. So not to make any decisions tonight. I'd like to keep all of you, Anne and Pat and Paul, connected with us. Our May meeting will actually be our final kind of road trip where we'll actually all be in a van visiting a few of the final recreation facilities for our report and our request for funding needs through the CPC. But just keep in mind that that might be a good partnership between the commission, yourselves, so that John and the number of amazing youth that come through HYCC, and also some of the activity that we are exposed to at Sandy Neck, right? And to pick up on two things that I love about what you've said, giving a child in need something new really is important, because I'm a product of hand-me-down clothes, and that was okay. But, getting my first new thing also was quite impactful. And the other thing is they have found that one of the things that COVID did by providing free lunches for every child, it took some of the stigma away from having a need to have a hunger insecurity. And they saw a significant increase across the state of Massachusetts of children eating lunch. So I don't know the answer of how to find the child who has a need, a true need, but doesn't want to feel, less because they have a need, and very often they lose out. So I love the fact that you guys are working through that, and that with this kind of program, our listening audience, parents or students can hear that these programs are available. So thank you for the work that you've done. Any other final questions or comments?
Renee, just to add on to something you just said and something that Ann brought up, and getting back to the idea of issuing new equipment as opposed to used. And there's nothing wrong with used equipment. I think that has a place also. But in my work in private schools, when we had students in need, and getting them on a level playing field, to get them feel like they belong in that program just as much as sort of, I would say it, full payers, made all the difference. So getting that, having new equipment, having them feel empowered to be in that program, I think is spot on.
So there's one other fundraiser that we're doing right now. And John, I think you're familiar with it. And that is, we're doing an event called Pedal Palooza. And we're doing it at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center on April 6th. And it is a stationary bike event, a 3-hour event, which is taking place from 9 o'clock in the morning till noon. And we're going to be having teams, up to 30 teams of 6 riders per team, or they'll ride for 25 minutes and then switch over to another rider if they so desire. And the funds are going to YAF, and also we're inviting 18 other nonprofits to be part of the event. And those nonprofits are throughout Cape Cod, and they're the primary beneficiaries of the second summer cycle. And we have 4 teams signed up so far, and we're hoping to get another 26 teams for that event. And there will be leaders. We'll have ride leaders who are trained physical therapists and certified riding instructors that will be leading the event. And you can find that on our website, on the YAF website.
Excellent.
It should be a lot of fun.
Well, that is really, really, really great news. And that's what this whole Recreation Commission is all about, getting information, sharing it, and putting it out into the community. So if there aren't any other questions, I'll ask one last time. I'd like to thank Ann and Pat and Paul for joining us, and I look forward to working with. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks again.
Renee, this is not a question, but when we do the next spectacle of trees, Renee and I have something in common, and I think she could contribute. She's laughing with her presence there because we both have been professional elves.
Oh,
I did 25 trips on the Cape Cod Railroad a number of years ago. I was the senior elf. Everybody else was a high school or Mass Maritime student. But Renee is an elf at Mashpee Commons every year. And I think your presence would draw a crowd and raise the revenue
yes.
multiple fold.
I will tell you this, if there's anything about the joy of being an elf and helping to raise money for a good cause, you can count me in.
Okay,
The elf
Ann, you
name
heard
is
that.
Sparkle.
I did. I heard that.
You heard that, Ann. Okay.
And so again, I think what you're doing is stellar. The other last thought is that not only allowing the children to be lifted up, there is a tremendous need in our community of getting the kids to and from the activity, and we miss that, and I worked with one program that actually provided the transportation. It is tricky, okay? But sometimes it is not only giving them what they need, but getting them back and forth. But thank you for taking the care and the thoughtfulness to lift kids up, and maybe also thinking about having them contribute in some way with all these amazing fundraisers that you're doing. I think that also helps to lift them up in terms of their actively participating. Paul?
Renee, I do have a question. You just said something about the transportation. I participate in Barnstable Neighbor to Neighbor, where we're helping senior citizens like me get to medical appointments and other things. Is there any organization, structure, or process to do the same thing for kids to get the sporting things?
So they're really the only one that I know of. I actually put it together with the Y. It's very, very tricky because of insurance and the fact that they're minors. And there was a time that one of the Uber organizations was going to do one for children. But other than that, there's a hole there. The public transportation does work, and you can schedule times to be to and from, but that's also with some limitations. Anne, was you going to say something? So it is a hole in our community. I know, John, that there are some, the rec has some vans, but again, it is a tricky situation, and I'm not aware of any solution. If anyone else has more insight to that, but that is one of those kind of second tier blockers. Okay. All righty. So thank you again. We're gonna move quickly into our next topic, and I I am going to first state a disclaimer, and that is that because I'm also a member of the group that's coming up, Hyannis Rotary, I'll step back in terms of anything that has to do with voting or anything that has to do with this organization because of my involvement with both the Recreation Commission and Hyannis Rotary. But that being said, it is a pleasure to introduce both Scott Peterson and the current president of Hyannis Rotary, Dennis Miller, to share a little bit about the organization and an upcoming event that will be held at the HYCC. Dennis?
Thank you, Renee. So let me start by just giving you a little bit of background about Rotary. You may or may not be familiar with what the Rotary Club is and how we are structured. The Hyannis Rotary Club is part of the Rotary International Organization, which has somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 or 12 million members, and it has something like 50,000 clubs around the world. Not to suggest that we're have grandiose expectations in our future, but as one of probably about a dozen clubs here on Cape Cod and the islands, we get into quite a few different types of fundraising projects, one of which is coming up in about a month, and that being the 65th Annual Hyannis Rotary Home Garden and Lifestyle Home Show. That's going to be on Saturday, March 23rd, and it's being held right at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. So a little bit more about the local club. We've been around for 99 and a half years. Next year will be our 100th anniversary, when we'll be trying to make a splash in all of these different fundraising activities. The types of things that we do include this home show, which is our largest fundraiser of the year. We also, as Pat Lantel mentioned, are involved in the Miles for Smiles road race. We do smaller projects in concert with other groups. We've done several types of things, such as purchasing a ramp, a handicap ramp for a local resident who needed it and couldn't afford it. We've done several types of things like the supporting the Champ Homes and capabilities, Caitlin's Closet, a baby center. Those are just some of the multiple entities that we've been working with over these last few years. We've probably, in the last, I'm going to say 15 years, have donated almost $500,000 to different organizations around the Cape Cod and island area. The Miles for Smiles race, just an example, for the last 3 years, I think we've donated about $50,000 through Caitlin's Closet and through Pat Lantel's organization to buy sneakers for kids that are in need. So again, the approach that we take is that we're a philanthropic organization. Our mantra is to help kids and families in need. And so we go looking for fundraisers that will generate funds to be able to support those types of programs, including our scholarship program, for which we probably have given out around $75,000 in scholarships in the last few years. So our Home and Garden Show, as many of you are probably familiar, was a staple at the Barnstable High School for many years. Pre-COVID, we had both the gymnasium as well as the field house full of vendors. We had as many as 100 vendors in the show pre-COVID. So obviously during COVID, a lot of companies have lost their workers. They can't staff a booth at a home show, much less do new work that they would get from a home show. So we've seen a drop in the number of vendors that are interested in being part of a home show. This year's show, we're looking to do something a little bit different in order to take a step away from that COVID impacted scenario. So we're going to have the show on March 23rd, Saturday, March 23rd. It's a one-day show this year. In the past, it was always a 2-day, a weekend show. It's going to be at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center instead of at the high school where we've had it for 15, 20 years. As I said, it's a one-day event. And this year's event will have somewhere between 50 and 75 vendors, counting all the different presenters for our speaker series, as well as the vendors that have booths and the nonprofits that are going to be in attendance. The show will include a raffle that always is a favorite. We're giving away probably about 3 dozen prizes, either on an hourly basis or as grand prizes at the end of the day. We're going to have a speaker series where people like CJ Fenari, who's going to be talking about gardening, the Family Table Collaborative's Jenny Wheeler is going to be there. She was a big hit last year talking about different food preparation techniques and things that you can do to be more healthy. This year, we're going to be giving away free seedlings to the first 100 people who come through the door. And then later on in the day, we're going to have a free skate in one of the rinks that the community can come and get skates and skate for free for I think we got an hour or an hour and a half of time from the facility. What you see on your screen right now is our postcard that has been used to solicit vendors as well as sponsors for the show. That same information is on our website. If you just Google hyannisrotary.org, you'll go to our home site and our homepage, and the second page that comes up as it rotates through is the Home Garden and Lifestyle Show. So again, the intent of coming to your organization tonight is primarily just to make you more aware of who we are, what kind of things that we do. If there are questions that any of you have for me, I'd be happy to take some time to answer them, and maybe that'll jog some more thoughts in my mind of things that I might tell you. So Renee, let me turn it back to you, or if you can think of something you want me to talk about that I skipped.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
So it's in one of the rinks on that day?
Yes, and I'm not sure which one. Do you know which one it's going to be, Scott?
John might
It's the
know.
gymnasium. It's in the
It's
gym.
in the gym. Okay.
The show is in the gymnasium. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't understand your question. The
Yeah,
free
I'm
skate
sorry. Yeah.
is in one of the
show-
2 rinks.
Gotcha. All right.
And
I
we'll
was
be
wondering
using
if the ice would be up before then. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I was just wondering because I didn't think the ice would be up before that. That was why I was wondering. So that makes sense. It's in the gym. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I understand that there have been shows there in the past where a booth type of a layout was utilized, and we've received that floor plan from the manager over there, and are going to be pretty much using that same template for setting up our home show.
Nice.
My voice disappeared here due to some virus, but Renee and I are co-chair of the event. And the one thing we were looking for was a nice, clean, fresh look for the show. And once we saw, I'm relatively new to the Cape. Once I saw it, I thought it was a great facility. We've had a lot of good feedback up to this point. It was a nice step forward for our club and for the show. So anyway, we're looking forward to a very nice event. And you've got a great facility there. And the staff has been great to work with, getting prepared for this.
You should probably see some of the signage going up in another week to let the local folks driving around know that it's a different location and that it's coming up. We're also doing a mass mailing this year to a subset of the greater Barnstable area. I'm not sure if I know the specifics of that mailing, but again, to try and draw a much bigger audience. The one thing I think I may have missed mentioning is that this year it's free admission. In the past, we charged for admission. And while that was part of the money-making aspect of the program, it didn't attract as many people as we had liked. And so the idea is this year we went to a sponsor format, and we have Hyannis Honda sponsoring the show for us. And that money is going to take the place of the money we lose at the door. But I'm hoping that what it'll do is get a whole lot more people to show up And the more people come through the door, the more the vendors see that and want to be part of the show. And that then maybe our show can grow over the coming years to increase the amount of money that goes towards our giving programs.
It is also very family friendly. So in addition to the free family skate, we have 2 hands-on workshops in the guest speaker series. One will be working with Martina from Country Garden. So that will be a hands-on gardening project for young children. And then Home Depot, who on a monthly basis usually has a hands-on workshop for kids. They're going to actually do that at our home show also. So, a lot of variety. There will be line dancing, there will be yoga, there will be things for homeowners on rebates. There will be some amazing vendors, not only in the home, but gardening and some lifestyle things. So we tried to provide an assortment of things for everyone in the community to stop by. The hours are 9 to 4:30. Any other questions? All righty, so Sharon?
Just a quick question. How many vendors have you gotten to yet? And how many does the gymnasium hold?
So the floor plan has, I think, approximately 55 to 60 booths as their base template. We've filled out about 55 of those with vendors, and then we have nonprofit organizations like Capabilities, like I should go to my backup list here that lists a bunch of them. But some of them will be there at tables around the perimeter of the space. But so it's roughly 60 plus or minus different entities that will be represented there. And then in addition to that, some of them are also doing speaker series things that, as was just mentioned by Renee, but we also have some special people coming in from like Home Depot and so forth to do presentations and demonstrations for us.
And that will all be contained in the gym? Or is
The presentations will be in either what are those 2 adjacent rooms called? Scott, can you help me out here?
Shepley, the game
Shepley
room.
room and the game room. And then we'll also have some tables set up in the entry area as people come in. Hopefully they'll buy some raffle tickets from us, maybe make a donation to the Rotary Club and its good works. There'll be some people there trying to recruit members for our Rotary Club. We're always interested in new members. So obviously, if any of you are interested in becoming involved in a philanthropic organization that reaches a lot of folks, we'd be happy to have you join the club. So all of that will be in the entry area as you come in the door. The vendors are in the gymnasium. The free skate will be in the rink area. We're using the food vendor to provide food for attendees. So that's in that same area right off the entrance.
And I understand this year you have a sponsor.
Well, the sponsor, as I mentioned, is Hyannis Honda. It's a first for us for a home show. It was very well much appreciated. It turns out that Jay Goodwin, who owns and operates the Hyannis Honda, was willing to bring his organization forward and become a sponsor for us. So we're really happy to have him on board doing that.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dennis. Any final questions? Well, once again, we thank you for using the HYCC and sharing with us the event and its highlights. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty, we will move into our recreation staff report, and I'll pass it over to John Gleason.
All right, thanks, Renee. Let me just share my screen. All right, this should be up and running. Just like Scott, I came down, I think, with something over the weekend where I got a little cold, so excuse my voice. I'm going to start a little backwards tonight. First, Youth Commission, I really want to highlight our youth job fair first, which is coming up on Wednesday, March 6th in the afternoon from 2:30 to 4:30. I did highlight it last meeting as well. But again, anyone out there that has a 14 to 18-year-old looking for a job this spring, summer, we have plenty of businesses that will be here at the HYCC on, again, Wednesday, March 6th from 2:30 to 4:30. If you are a Barnstable High School student, there are buses that will come from the high school and transport the kids over here to our facility. Other than that, kids will have to find a ride with their parents to get here. But well worth it. I think a lot of kids leave the job fair with good prospects for jobs come the spring and summer. So again, would love to see lots of people there to enjoy that afternoon. Recreational program wise for the month of February, even though we had a vacation week mixed in there, very busy month for us. We had our vacation program where, you know, the kids that are, you know, not at school for the week engage in activities with us for the week while their parents are still working. Another full slate of kids. I think we had close to 20 kids in the program, and again, take them to, you know, sometimes the movies, bowling, out to different playgrounds, do arts and crafts. A lot of great things for those kids during the week. Kind of since COVID, we started this Spread the Love campaign where we'll get kids in the community to do Valentine's Day cards for senior citizens or older adults, and we dropped those cards off to the BACC, which we did this month, and there was a post on social media about that. So that was a fun event during the month. I have been helping out with the 4th and 5th grade girls basketball program on Wednesdays due to some, you know, short staff and Kelly being out on maternity leave. And I went on Friday as well because we had our championship game and I ref that for the kids, and that was a blast. The final score was 15-14. Literally came down to the wire. A very great game. The kids had a blast. And we posted that on Saturday on social media, and I know it got some good attention to that. It's always nice when the girls get their due respect online with congratulating them on their job well done. Our 4th and 5th grade boys basketball program ends tomorrow, and Jack Kapanke is in charge of that class, and I'll be going to that as well and refereeing that finals for him. I am a certified official, so I like to go and do that to take the heat off the young kids that usually will referee the games. So if there is any tough calls to be made, I take that responsibility. So, you know, if hopefully we don't have it, but if there are some parents in the crowd or players or coaches that get a little excited about the game, I can handle it pretty well with that. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. We had a half day every month. Usually there's a half day. We took some kids to the Blake Planetarium in Plymouth, and that was a new experience for us for a half day program. I think the kids really enjoyed it, and we'll look to do that again in the future, probably with our vacation program. Usually our half day play program likes to do more physical opportunities. But they did enjoy it, but it's more for like a vacation program or our summer program. Let's see. Most of our winter programs were finishing up this month. So we had like babysitting, games of strategy, and some other classes that kind of ended during this month. And as things end, we have new things beginning. So on the morning of Wednesday, March 6th, we have spring registration for T-ball, softball, running, you name it. It's in our new brochure. You can find that online. It's also was delivered to all the schools, so the kids should have taken that home in their backpack by this point. This month we announced, I think I might have made a typo. Our summer leisure program is scheduled for Wednesday, April 10th So I think on the report, it says April 11th. It's Wednesday, April 10th. I'll have to update that. But all the stuff was delivered to the school, so the kids will get that information. We awarded bids for our t-shirts. So come the new fiscal year, we have new businesses that we'll be working with to provide us with the program t-shirts and lifeguard uniforms. And that always occurs every year during this time of year. Oh, I actually put it in twice. That's why there was a mistake. But anyway, it's leisure programs Wednesday, April 10th. Aquatic wise, again, weather's starting to warm up a little bit, starting to think about summer. We've been trying to post fairly regularly about parking permits. So on the screen, your bottom left-hand corner, I did a post not too long ago about how the lifeguards see summer off in the future, and it's time to get your parking permit now. So hopefully, people will see this and hear this to start applying through the mail or online. We're pretty caught up with our processing. So the quicker you get it done, the less you'll wait. The longer you wait to do it, maybe the longer it will take to get to you. So suggest that you do it now and not wait till April or May. Let's see, again, we have lifeguard tryouts, April 27th, May 11th, and June 1st. Applications are online. If people have any questions about what consists in a lifeguard tryout, they can reach out to George Noonan. His information's on our website under the beaches under lifeguard information. And along with that, we have all our summer positions available at the beach and other things. Gate attendants, beach aides, camp counselors. We even have stuff up now for obviously for the spring. So anyone looking for a job can find all that online. Last but not least, in the aquatic world, we did meet recently with MEA and DPW about dogs on the beaches. So we met because if you remember from last summer, we have some restrictions as far as raking the beaches with some protected environment because of the bird, plovers, terns. So we can't rake the beaches as much as we have in the past. So Nina Coleman from Marine Environmental Affairs has been working on regulations so we can work with the state about raking more, or when we can do it, when we can't. And what stemmed from the conversation was, dogs on the beaches. We normally do May 15th to September 15th, no dogs, but we're looking to potentially find other areas in town where we can allow dogs that don't really have an impact on recreation or people swimming, that would enable residents and visitors to walk on the beach year round. They're not necessarily our big locations, but smaller off locations where people might be able to enjoy the beach in the water and walking their dog. Last but not least, just some administrative stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, I presented on Tuesday, February 20th, the Inside Barnstable Town Government presentation. It was a great presentation, a lot of engaging citizens that take the class, and it was good to do that. I did mention it last month, but we have 2 new part-time division assistants where they work less than 20 hours a week, but they help us out with a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff on the computer, interaction with customers. Sandra up front is very, very busy, and a lot of people come into the building, and a lot of times she gets off task because she's dealing with a lot of people and a lot of responsibilities. So these people will be able to take some workload off of her and help out the recreation division and the HYCC. But their names are, it says Annetta, but she goes by Annie, and then Brian, 2 wonderful people that started working about a little less than a month ago at this point. Last but not least, because I know this was a big topic that we just started to discuss. I think the day of the meeting we had last time, the Centerville Recreation Building Playground had to be closed due to safety. There are some retaining walls. So if you're not familiar, the playground is in a bowl area, and there's retaining walls that support the land above it in the building above the playground. Those walls have failed, which made the playground area not safe. So as of right now that the playground is closed down, there were some other issues with some equipment. Right now it's in the hands of our Chris Canella, the Community Services Director. We've met and discussed with DPW some plans going forward to see if we could potentially open back up at a limited capacity, or do we just wait till we start building the new playground? Chris is working with upper town management to finalize a decision on that. And when I have an answer, I will certainly let you know about that. But the town is still seeking funds through CPC for money for the field at that facility. So once that is determined, then the town could start the project where we take care of the playground, the field, and the parking lot all at once. The playground, the new playground and the parking lot are already funded. We still need funds for the ball field. Last but not least, the Ossiville Playground Committee, which Jim is a part of. We've met 3 times, I think, at this point. After a couple of the initial meetings, the playground consultant, Judy Reel of Reel Associates, came with a mock-up of her first draft of what the playground would look like. During that, we had further discussions of what she presented. And as of today, she just sent out an email of an updated version of what that looks like. If weather holds up, we do have an on-site meeting on Wednesday, I believe at 12:30, to go over the new design and kind of discuss what people like about that. As we further progress with that playground advisory group, the town will hold at least 1, if not 2, meetings for the community to see the type of equipment that will be there, what it looks like, and then offer their input for the playground. We did that for the Centerville playground, and I'm sure it would be very similar with the Ossiville playground. But as of now, the playground design looks pretty neat. Just waiting on some more meetings to kind of finalize that and then go out to the community for more input.
So John, the meeting on Wednesday at 12:30 is for the Osterville playground or the
Yes.
Centerville?
Yeah, for the
Osterville.
the Centerville Playground Committee is pretty much done. I mean, that was already designed and planned, and we
Okay.
don't meet anymore about that. And the advisory group is meeting on Wednesday at 12:30
Okay.
if weather holds up. I know it's supposed to be a rainy week. But if anyone has any questions,
Any other questions? Yes.
I'd like to answer.
I just have one question, John, about the effort to have a certified lifeguard class held at Barnstable High School. Is that still in the plan, or is that going to be pushed out to next year? Or
Yeah, I mean, definitely still in the plan. So I do know students are currently enrolling for classes right now. But my wife teaches at Barnstable High School, so I don't think the teachers or the administration really fully know what's going to transpire until I think later on this month. But I will double check on that. But I do know it was in the selection for kids to choose. I just don't know if any kids or how many kids have tried to enroll, sign up for that. But I did get an email last week that the principal Freeman is retiring at the end of this year. So I'm hoping that that retirement does not set us back. I would safely assume that if there's enough kids to take this class, that the school would still honor that class and that obligation. Vanessa Pye, who's the department head for the class that will be under, I know she's well on board with it, and I believe that there's already a teacher lined up to teach the class. So it's just a matter of finalizing how many kids will be there and how we can make it happen. But on our part, we've done pretty much everything we can do. We met with the Y. We have the, the promise from them that the pool would be available for the school to use during the times we need it. We are providing transportation for the school to transport kids from the high school over to the YMCA and back. So it's really just getting the kids to sign up at this point.
And get them off the computers and out in the world of the beaches and lifeguarding. Any other questions? All righty, I'm going to move right into the report on Sandy Neck, and I just have a simple update, a brief but important update. So on Thursday, March the 14th at 6 p.m. at the town hall, there will be a final review of the design of the Sandy Neck Beach facility. And it's quite a nice upgrade for their facility. So the final review will be reviewed and approved on Thursday, March the 14th at the town hall at 6 p.m. Any questions? All righty, I want to thank Alyssa and Sharon for co-chairing the CPC. An email was just sent to the chair, and I think their next meeting is on the 18th. And if the two of you will try to get together and take the months that work for each of you, it's a very it's a great committee, and it really does give insight in terms of where the funds go between housing, historical, and recreation, and you'll get to influence recreation. And our goal is to go out into the community in May and then work and have a report for them by July before we have our in-person meeting for the awards. Any other questions? Any other items to talk about tonight? During the beginning of before we began, we talked about a few potential visitors for next meeting. So if you have you see something in the community you think that is interesting, please reach out to both John and myself, and we'll get the April meeting squared away. And Sharon, would you like to lead the April meeting?
Sure. Well, I'll hope to meet with you first.
Excellent. Yes, that's what I like. And Tony, I know that you're staying abreast of the things going over at the adult center. And Jim, when there is a meeting, you're still working with the Osterville project. Is that
Yes, I've missed one, and hopefully be there Wednesday.
excellent? Thank you. So that is really, really great. And I will ask if there aren't any other items for a call to adjourn the meeting.
I will motion.
Second.
I have a second.
All righty. So all in favor at this point, we can say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, aye. All right. It's a pleasure as always to see everyone. Forget what you heard about that elf story. And I look forward to seeing you during our next meeting in April. Good night, everyone.